Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to Witch and Wizard. I don't know what that was. Now I'm itchy. Anyway, as I mentioned in the previous video, which I haven't uploaded yet, I upload both of them at the same time. I record them one after the other. I don't know why I felt the need to say that. Anyway, I'm thinking the upload schedule is going to be Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. These two on Sundays and Thursdays, and then two other books on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And then, if I feel well enough, like mentally, I'll read whichever books are most popular on Mondays, Wednesdays, and or Fridays. But I figure, one day in between everything to kind of give me a break should be good. And then maybe what I'll do is every week on Wednesdays I'll do either another 2 books or something. We'll see. But I think that's a good schedule. Let me know your thoughts. Anyway, that really took almost 2 minutes. Anyway, we are in chapter 62, I'm pretty sure, wit 182. In spite of the depressing uncertainty about our parents' whereabouts, Wisty's voice was full of excitement as she said the name of the familiar department store. "So, I guess this is like your dream come true, huh?" I said to her. She gave me an ironic smile as Sasha led us through the revolving doors, one of which had been shattered by a rocket, or maybe a runaway tank. "Totally," Wisty said. "On one hand, we've been dragged away from our parents, imprisoned, starved, stunned, gunned, denied all basic human rights and freedoms, yada yada yada. On the other hand, look, to my right, it's like Bra Wonderland." I was about to make a joke about how it would be a wonder if she even needed one, but she raised her drumstick at me and I shut right up. "No electricity in here," Sasha said as we walked up a motionless escalator. "But do you have any idea how flammable perfume is? One of our guys rigged up a little combustion generator. Now we can run a laptop for 2 hours off a purse-sized bottle." Then something hit me like a cheap shot to the jaw. Did none of these kids have any parents? We were just arriving at the main floor. I started to look around and think, every single one of these kids, half-light or not, has a story. Maybe even a story worse than ours. "So how many live here?" "I guess around 250, Sasha mused, not counting half-lights who drift in and out. They can't stay very long, or... "We don't need to go into that," Celia said, looking anxious, so very different from the laid-back Celia I'd known before. All I wanted to do was hold her close, tell her everything would be all right. But I wouldn't be able to really hold Celia ever again, would I? And I definitely couldn't tell her that things would be all right. "We've got our own little society here," said Sasha, including, ta-da, this week's leader. He led us down a corridor to a small bank of offices. There, sitting at a desk with a little brass-colored manager sign on it, was a cute girl of no more than 15. She was busily punching keys on a laptop. A thick cable ran from the back of the computer to what looked like a small metal garbage can about 20 feet away. I could smell smoke and something like burned lemons coming from the fragrance-fueled laptop. Ugh. I'd never look at perfume the same again. The cute girl looked up, brushing long brown curls over her shoulder. She had a no-nonsense look on her face, no makeup, and was wearing denim overalls over a stained t-shirt. "Sasha," she said, "it's been, 43 days? We needed you here." "I'm not ducking responsibility, but Celia ran the operations," Sasha said, "and I should point out it was a hugely successful one. But there's no accounting for those portals into the Shadowland, not to mention that we had a prison break to engineer. Wit and Wisty," he turned to us, "meet my former basic combat partner and this week's leader. You can tell because she's in the manager's office wearing a manager lapel pin. Janine." "Hi," said Janine, not smiling. Still sitting, she reached out and shook my hand like I'd just arrived for a job interview. Welcome, she said, and then targeted Celia. Did you get any other kids out of the hospital? Celia shook her head. There was only one other on the floor, and he wasn't rescuable. Janine nodded. Such a shame to find straight and narrows afflicting a child. What? Oh. What? Well, the fight goes on. The fight goes on, Celia echoed. Then she turned to me. I have to go, Whit, she said, but I'll try to come back. The word try rang in my ears like a funeral bell. That's morbid. But accurate. 63. Whit. Have you ever lost anyone close to you? That was him, not me. Then you can imagine my feelings. I loved Celia like crazy. To have her ripped out of my life over and over again was unbearable. I motioned for Celia to come behind one of those mirrored department store columns for some privacy. I tried to hold her hands, grasping the shape of them in mine. Please come back, I told her. Looking into her eyes, I can't stand to lose you again. She nodded and gave me one of her smiles. I want to, Whit. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're alive. Out of everything I miss, I've missed you the most. Oh. Yeah. I've missed you. I don't know why I do that. Let's see. Then Celia did the most amazing thing. I am afraid to ask. She came very close to me, then even closer, until I couldn't see her anymore. I could only feel her in a way that was more intense and intimate than ever before. Then we merged. Really, we were like one person. It was warmth. It was peace. It was pure beauty. I was a part of Celia, and she was a part of me. It was only for a moment, but it seemed as if the feeling were big and powerful enough to last a lifetime. I knew I'd never forget this. Who could? Finally, Celia separated from me. She blew a kiss and ran to a nearby portal, apparently in the boys' shoe department, where she disappeared. Sorry. Honestly, it was like I just lost half of myself. I lingered by the sneakers and high tops and wiped tears away. I didn't think I could tell the others what had just happened, not even Wisty. I couldn't even begin to describe being one with Celia, and then watching her go away again. Chapter 64. Wisty. What do people mean by this week's leader? I asked Janine. It was one of my many questions I would be asking in the next few days. Right now, while Whit was talking, or whatever, with Celia, I was trying to find out more about life at Garfunkel's. The grown-ups have been amply demonstrated that power corrupts, Janine said, sounding like somebody who was running for office but actually worthy of the job. But you do need one person in charge, a final decision maker, or else everything gets crazy. So we have a leader, but it changes every week. This is my week. Sasha explained. The incoming leader spends a day learning the ropes from the previous leader. He leaned against Janine's desk, and then during the last day, they'll train the next person. It works pretty well, actually. The week of September 22nd was incredible. Janine rolled her eyes. You were the leader, I said to Sasha. I got it. He grinned. It was a glorious time for the revolution. My decree about voluntary toilet flushing is still talked about in intellectual circles. What? Janine looked at him for a second, then turned to me. We're very lucky you and Whit are here with us, she said. We're in need of your skills. Skills? Like changing creeps into weasels, I said. In a sense, yes, Janine said matter-of-factly. It sounds like you're much stronger than the other witches and wizards we've discovered. You've got others? I asked, stunned. Sort of. But it sounds to me like you're in a totally different category, not garden variety cantrip stuff. Of course, she said, ignoring my puzzled look. I guess we'll see for sure during tomorrow's night raid. We're breaking a bunch of kids out of the overworld prison. I shook my head. Sorry, Janine, we already told Sasha we're going to look for our parents. Janine suddenly grabbed my arm. You have to help us, Wisty. This is the New Order Reformatory, the same place you were taken after you were kidnapped. In Freeland, we call it the Overworld Prison because it's an evil place. You know that kids' lives depend on it, don't you? Look, I've been there. I know how bad it is, but you have to understand what comes first for us. We've got to find our parents. Period. Janine was still holding my arm. You say you do, but you don't know how bad Overworld really is. You have no idea. She looked over at Sasha. Take them to see Michael Clancy. I'm kind of worried. 65. Whit had come back from seeing Celia off, and he didn't look too good. No, actually, he looked terrible. For him, anyway, frazzled and scuffed up. Who's Michael Clancy? He wanted to know. No idea, somebody they want us to see about a prison break. I raised my voice for Sasha to hear. He was leading the way. Who's Michael Clancy? I called. He's right in here, Sasha said, and opened the door to a small dark room. There was a single mattress on the floor. I'm Michael, a soft voice said. What do you want with me? Tell them your story, said Sasha. He turned to us. Sit down with Michael and listen. You can sit there on this mattress. There's plenty of room. There was room, because Michael was one of the skinniest kids I'd ever met. He reminded me of pictures of famine victims and people in refugee camps I'd seen, and that brought back images of overworld prison and the time we'd spent there. Hello, Michael, I said. Hey, Mike, said Whit. Not only was the boy nearly wasted away, but his eyes looked dead to me. Still, there was something intense about him. He never asked our names, just went right into his story. Memory is a liar. You know that, don't you? He began. But I'm sure what I'm going to tell you captures the truth anyway, even if all the details are wrong, which I don't think they are, but maybe so. Sure, Michael, I said, just to let him know we were listening closely. He sounded so much older than he looked. I was almost afraid to hear what had happened to him. The soldiers, all in black, their boots spit shine, and came for us that morning at the prison, and I believe the sun was already up. There were 40 or more of us in this particular cell block, ages, I'd say, between 5 and 16, males and females. Many different hues in terms of skin color, all extremely dangerous. They took us, marched us downstairs to a courtyard. There were only a couple of guards in the yard, so I don't think they expected trouble from us. They didn't get much, as we were too tired, too hungry, already broken for the most part. There was this unbelievable wind, very much like a twister, and this tall, bald man was right there in front of us. He smelled of almonds, I think. He never said a word, never identified himself, though I believe he may have been the one who is the one. He looked at us with such disdain, like we were so far beneath him. Then he just flicked his wrist. Just that. Flick. There was nothing left of us except for smoke and the smell of skin burning. He had, vaporized everyone. Then he was gone, and I was still there, like I am now. Don't ask. Don't you dare ask. I have no idea why I was spared. I don't even care anymore. Michael Clancy looked at Sasha. There, I've told my story. Now please take them away. This took a darker turn than I thought it could. 66. It took me several hours to just begin to get over Michael Clancy, to wrap my mind around what he had said. Have you ever felt like your head was taking in so much new and tragic and complicated information that it was about to blow right off your shoulders? Take that feeling and then eat something really disgusting that makes you want to throw up for hours, and you'll be right about where I was at that moment. Let's review. 1. I, everyday, ordinary Wisty, am a witch. Washboard tummy Wit is a wizard. We don't exactly know how to control her powers. 2. Wit and I were sentenced to death by an insidious individual named the One Who Is the One. 3. And my parents are wanted for treason, and we still have no idea where they are, or whether they are still alive. 4. We were tortured in a magic dampening prison, so possibly we're more powerful than we even know. 5. A dead girl, who just happens to be the true love of my brother's young life, showed up mysteriously and rescued us from the prison. 6. I turned Byron Swain into a weasel. That I'm very proud of. 7. The world is actually plural, not singular, between the Shadowland, Freeland, Overworld, and Underworld. It's hard not to lose count. 8. And one of those worlds is being run by a bunch of kids from the manager's desk in a semi-demolished department store. It isn't paradise, but at least it's a place where freedom still reigns. 9. I'm being asked to help orchestrate a prison raid that might save kids from being vaporized, but maybe not. Actually, it might get all of them killed. Okay, so it was a lot to deal with, but sometimes a list can really help you get a handle on life. One thing at a time is one of the more helpful philosophies. I can vouch for that. Next week. Right now, number 9 was what mattered to everyone around Whit and me, but we were still hung up on number 3. 67. So about this raid. It's tomorrow? I asked. At the overworld prison, do you know how the jail's laid out? Not that I'm committing Whit or myself. I can't do that. Janine quickly punched a few keys, and the computer screen showed a schematic of the building. Byron, hateful, tattling, rat-faced weasel Swain, leaped from Pfeffer and scampered up my back to sit on my shoulder so he could see. I spun my head his way. Quit climbing on me, or I'll switch on my flames and turn you into the world's grossest shish kebab, I told him. That's all we needed now, a double-crossing weasel spy telling the New Order all our plans. Byron slunk back down to the floor. I won't, he protested, cringing. Never, won't happen. Janine blinked. The weasel is a spy? It's a talking weasel? Long story, I said, but I don't trust this weasel as far as I can throw him, which I guess would be about 30 feet. I mused, looking at him. How much do you weigh now? I'm not a spy, Byron said. You think I could go back to them, looking like this? I could have the secret of the universe, and they would still execute me in half a sec. All the same, you go out there. Go, I said firmly, pointing to the hallway. Looking insulted and hurt, Byron huffed and scuttled across the floor. I turned back to the jail schematic. Okay, so what's the plan to save those kids? You do have a plan. 68. First, as background, we need to give you a quick tour of the New Order's first stronghold, said Janine. They call it the City of Progress because it's their ideal community. It's kind of the floor model for what they want to carpet the entire planet with. The place is full of Erlenmeyers. She put 2 fingers in her mouth and let out an ear-splitting whistle. A couple of guys came running. Janine nodded to the tall, skinny, very clean-cut one. Jonathan will take you on the tour, but first Emmett will help you with your disguises. Disguises? Whit said. Absolutely, Janine insisted. You need to blend in. You can't look too... I don't know. Out there? Otherwise, off with your heads. Emmett, a very good-looking blonde guy, said, Come on. First, we go to cosmetics. I'll do your makeup. Don't worry. I'm very good. An hour or so later, my totally uncontrollable hair was shiny and brushed and kept off my face with an ingeniously placed hair bow and about 24 hidden bobby pins. My clothes were a country club pink and lime green rather than the usual black and grays that I favor. Byron, unctuous weasel, had climbed on the filing cabinet. Now he looked me up and down with his beady little eyes. You look very nice, he said. Actually, I approve. I stuck my tongue out at him as Whit came strolling up to me. His face was pinkish and scrubbed. His hair was cut short, shorter than usual even. And he looked cleaner than he had in a long time. If I weren't his sister, I might have even called him handsome. But since I am his sister, I said, Why, hello, sir. I don't think we've met. I'm Wisty the Wicked Witch, and you? Poster boy for the National Guard? Pfeffer came over and sniffed around to make sure I was still me, and Whit was really Whit. We both passed and got licks. Okay, said Jonathan, coming up to us. He really was tall. Several inches over even Whit, but he probably weighed about as much as I did. With his pale skin and fair sandy hair, he resembled a bar of white chocolate. A few things to remember. First and foremost, no cantrips. I don't know what that means. Don't talk to anyone unless you must. If you have to speak, remember to smile and say ma'am or sir. Do not cross the street against the light. Do not snap gum in public. And for heaven's sake, do not let that dog do her business. All dogs in the City of Progress are trained to use litter boxes indoors, like cats. Sounds like a neat place, Whit muttered. And what's cantrip? No funny witchy stuff, Jonathan declared. Okay, let's go meet the enemy. 69. What I noticed most about the City of Progress was that the one who's the one was literally everywhere, on posters, paintings, videos, front pages of newspapers, murals. Who was this whack job? I thought people like him came into power only in other places, in history books and in fantasy stories. Until now, I never noticed how much fantasy had to do with reality. What I noticed next to the City of Progress was fresh paint. You couldn't get away from the smell. Everything was so tidy and perfect. There weren't many kids around either. And when we saw grown-ups, they checked us out. Whit and I learned to copy Jonathan's quick smile. We saw signs of the new regime everywhere. Bumper stickers on the bright, shiny SUVs and minivans saying things like, "Say yes to the NO," and "If you see something, say something." And "Just say no to Art," or the most scary of the bunch in my opinion, proud parent of a New Order Junior informant. "Oh goodness," I said, spying a low, chrome-trimmed building and immediately feeling weak in the knees. A diner. The idea of having some comfort food almost made me whimper. "Would it be safe to go in there, please?" "Yeah, I guess," said Jonathan. "Just remember your manners. Think New Order." Inside the diner, almost every red vinyl booth was occupied by grown-ups. A guy in a bleached cap was wiping down a glaringly white counter over and over and over. We sat down on revolving stools in front of him. My stomach growled, which was more than a little embarrassing. "Yes," the counterman asked. "Help you folks?" "Yosh, mister, it's hard to decide," I said, trying to radiate tattling weaselness and Jonathan-ness as best as I could. "May I please have a root beer float and the cheeseburger deluxe? Thank you." "Whisty," Whit said in a low voice, leaning in close, his breath warm on my ear. "Do you feel something odd? Because I sure do." Very casually, I spun on my revolving stool. I glanced around, but all I saw were people chowing down on burgers, fries, and milkshakes. The New Order anthem, a drone of rigid drum beats awkwardly mixed with wailing emo diva, was playing on the jukebox. Ew. You know things have gotten bad when military marches pass for pop music. Then one particular woman caught my eye. Lots of mascara, very big hair. She gave me a weird look. Then she turned back to the other folks at her booth. Two middle-aged women with way too much face paint and also big hair. "Yes," I whispered, "the one with a spool of spidery hair. Two others just like her. They're watching us." "She's a witch," I heard a voice say then. I froze in mid-revolution on my stool. The tiny hairs on my arms stood up like New Age troopers. The counterman looked up from his obsessive cleaning and frowned as if a shot had just been fired. "What did you say, Mrs. Highsmith?" he asked. "That obnoxiously red-haired girl there, she's a witch," said Mrs. Highsmith more forcefully. It was the same woman who'd been looking at me, and that blonde boy, the handsome one. There's something not right about him either. She could tell I was a witch, because she was one too. Well, that's going to be a problem. I forgot to get my bookmark. Oh well. Alright, I'm going to end the video, or I'm going to end the reading there. Hope you guys don't mind too much. Alright, I'm going to start uploading these, and then get in the shower, get dressed, clean up a little bit. Iggy, you're getting a bath before I go to work. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Did I mention I brought the turtles inside? They're over this way. Oh, and let me know what you guys think. So, I ordered another lightsaber. I wanted it to be, well, look. What do you think? It looks orange right here, right? And then it gets to be yellow right there. In real life, it's very greenish here and stops being greenish about right there, and it's only really yellow right here. And then the rest of it's like this peach color. I'm not satisfied with it, so I'll be sending it back for it to be tweaked. Hopefully they can figure out how to properly set it. I just wanted to show it off because it looks yellow on camera. Anyway, until next time, goodbye everybody. Sorry for wasting your time.